Aloha. Welcome to the Mr.G podcast. Today is episode number 45. It is July 3rd, Monday, 2023. It's just after 7 a.m. here in Honolulu, Hawaii, on the outskirts of Chinatown, where it's a sizzling 77 degrees, mostly cloudy morning. And on this Monday morning, this odd Monday, tomorrow being a federal holiday, one that many would like to forget in 2023, unfortunately, tomorrow being the 4th of July. Some people have to go to work today, others, like myself, work from home. And it's a very strange Monday indeed, especially for a dark empath like myself. I feel vibes, I feel energy, and today's vibe, I enjoy Monday mornings. Mondays are generally my favorite time of the week, this being also, but today has a different kind of vibe, which I also enjoy as well. Um, because a lot of people, the reason, if you want to know why I enjoy this awkward Monday vibe, it being tomorrow being 4th of July, is because people that generally have to go to work today and maybe they're off tomorrow, they generally aren't the type of people that are patriotic. And also, the type of people, generally just about everybody, is living in like a delusion. They have this little idea of what life is supposed to be like, and when you throw a monkey wrench in there, like 4th of July on a Tuesday, oh, it's a holiday weekend. No, it's not a holiday weekend, or it is a holiday weekend. I don't know, is it? And you throw a monkey wrench in there and it snaps people back to reality and let them know that you're actually just like an animal on a rock flinging around a star going a million miles per hour out in the boondocks corner of the Milky Way galaxy. Uh, and it really puts things in perspective. The type of people that I'm like, see, haha, you know, it's Monday morning, or is it? Is tomorrow a holiday? Oh, you're supposed to have hot dogs and hamburgers tomorrow because it's 4th of July. Today's the 3rd of July. Yesterday was the 2nd of July. Happy birthday, Mom. My mom's birthday, July 2nd, 1950, the exact midpoint of the 20th century. And I use that date as a marking point to compare historical dates and other events and whatnot. But like I said, it's the midpoint of the 20th century, and July 2nd is the midpoint of the year. So this year is halfway over 2023. It's more than halfway over today on July 3rd. And after the 4th of July, the 4th of July symbolizes the middle of summer. And I don't know if you had a lot of good 4th of Julys growing up, but to me, they were part of, they just remind me of like the dog days of summer. I'll try to conjure up a couple different 4th of July stories on today's episode and probably tomorrow as well. But uh, the 4th of July, it's not celebrated that much at all here in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I've noticed the past few years it's become less and less of a celebration. I experienced the 4th of July in Vancouver, Washington one year, and it was like fireworks everywhere, like crazy. You know, it was like the fucking Revolutionary War in Vantucky, Washington State. But here in Hawaii, you see her a lot more fireworks at the Chinese New Year or regular New Year's, or even Thanksgiving. At one point, there was one year a few years ago where fireworks were just insane, and like the police had to like stomp down and put a stomp to it. But it's the middle of summer, and all the summer blockbuster movies are out. And when I was a kid, my favorite action summer movie was Indiana Jones. And I remember seeing Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I mean, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in the movie theaters. The other two, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones. And if you're wondering what the whip is for, the whip actually has a second use as well. Shout out to my lovely English girlfriend, Jamie. But Indiana Jones, always being a fan of, and now it seems like they're just like mocking anybody that was like a fan of the first three movies. They're like, "Oh yeah, you like Indiana Jones? What are you, a straight white male? You probably like Trump too, huh? You crazy conspiracy theorist." it's hard being a straight white male nowadays. Let me tell you, in 2023, there's no other harder race to be. We recently had a victory in the Supreme Court. Actually, that's more of a victory for Asians that apply to Harvard, because now they're just going to look at the grades, and many Asians score and other races have almost perfect SATs, perfect GPA, and they still don't get into Harvard or Yale. And so I really have to side with the Supreme Court, and I'm against affirmative action, and it should be grade based and merit based. All right, but what else we got in the news? Well, France is going crazy. While we're talking about news things, this isn't scripted. All right, I don't write out or very rarely prepare what I'm going to say, especially on a day like today. All right, but since we're talking about the news, I have the ability. I can do this podcast every day, and I just open my mouth and words come out. Seriously, I don't even know where these words come from. Like, watch, look, I'll just open my mouth and like all this profound shit will come out. Watch. Wait, hold on 1 second. Oh, it's not working. It's like when you really gotta piss and you can't because you're thinking about. Hold on. All right. Well, anyways, what's going on in France? All right, France is under war. You got people in the street with machine guns and AK-47s just firing all about, and supposedly it's because of a police shooting of a man that was a young teenager that was running from the police and got shot by the police, which is a common occurrence in the United States and Europe and across the world, right? But apparently, like, you see videos that you on TikTok if you can before they take them down, and not on the mainstream media, but you can see videos online. You can see some crazy videos of Hillary Clinton on the dark web too. I'm just gonna throw that out there, all right? I'm not saying to go on the dark web, but hey, there's some crazy Hillary Clinton shit that dropped in the last few days. But anyways, as far as the videos that's going on in France, it's I can't buy it all that over a shooting like that. They're burning down cities. It's they're calling it World War III, and there is last I heard it was hard to get a gun in Europe, and you have all these. We're talking about Indiana Jones. We'll get back to Indy, but I see SWAT vans and all these criminals getting out with like AK-47s and shooting machine guns in the sky, burning down churches, burning down buildings, burning down mosques, burning down Holocaust memorials. It's insane. They're burning down their country, and you have like French nationals in the streets, like of Lyon, like saying "France for French people, France for," and it's just insane. And and then on the American news media, they're just like, "Oh, Donald Trump's bad," and it's like I don't buy it that it's all because of this shooting of this kid. You have Richard Gere in the Mediterranean. He's like, I saw a video of him. He's like on a boat with like 2,000 migrants or something, and they're all black men. Nothing against black men. They're all African men. There's no women and children. They're like they're searching for a better life for their families, for their children. It's where are all their children? All those boats that you see, they're just like men coming in. Like by the hundreds and thousands, and that's happening in the United States as well on the American border. On the American border, you see some women and children, but in Europe, it's all young fighting age men. So you wonder what's really going on, and all the media corporations being owned by a few select people, and everything being controlled by 40 people, 50 people that run the whole world. That obviously has something to do with it. And speaking of the media being controlled, they just wanted to like stick it, as they said in the 1950s. They wanted to stick it to Indiana Jones fans, people like me that grew up on the first three movies. When I was a kid, that we only had a few VHS tapes, and one of them, and the best ones, was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the best one, and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And then when we were about 12, 13 years old, we actually got to see Indiana Jones and the third one, not Raiders of the Lost Ark, not Temple of Doom, not Goofy on the Couch, not Lucky on the Outside. It was The Last Crusade with Sean Connery and Harrison Ford. And we saw that in the movie theaters. And I remember we were there with Nathan Guidoni and my brother, and we had to decide between seeing that movie and also Weekend at Bernie's 3 or Ghostbusters 2. And then Weekend at Bernie's, we were just like, yeah. It was Weekend at Bernie's 2. We were just like, yeah, not that one. But then it came down to Ghostbusters 2 and Indiana Jones, and we made the right choice by going with Indiana Jones, obviously. But let me go ahead and look 1 second. Okay. Come on. You enjoying your 4th of July? So they came out with the 4th Indiana Jones movie, and I actually saw that in the theaters too, in the University of Texas. At the University of Texas, they had the movie theater in the Adobe and the student union actually, and they played movies, and that was one movie, and I walked out of that movie as others did as well. As soon as I saw Shia LaBeouf like balancing on 2 moving convertibles with 1 leg on each one, hands holding nothing, just ooh, just balancing on 2 cars. I'm like, what the fuck? And then the alien skull. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? Is this Indiana Jones made for TV? And then I left. And now it's just like they got it so wrong on that movie. And then so the 4th one, they're like, let's fuck it up more. Let's make Indy a fucking dump truck. Let's yeah, so anybody says that they like Indiana Jones, like, what, you like Indiana Jones? What are you, like, some fucking depressed old guy on the New York City subway? Huh? You know? Oh, Indy, he's a loser. It's the female lead. That woman, Kathleen Kennedy, whatever her name is, she just like nothing against her personally. But and you don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I can just look at her and tell that she is somebody that would just hate me like for no even if I was nice as could possibly be. She's somebody that just looks at somebody like me, sees straight white male. I came across people like this in the university and different places, elitists like that look at me, they're like, oh, he probably likes Donald Trump and this and that. Like I said, it's hard being a straight white male in the world nowadays in the United States. But the fact of the matter is that you don't want to judge a book by its cover. So when I look at her, I can just tell that she doesn't like me, and she's somebody that like wouldn't like me. And look at anybody that says they like Indiana Jones, and that has a whip. I have the whip for other reasons, but I've always been a fan of Indiana Jones, and it's just appalling. I don't need to see the new movie. I'm not even gonna illegally download the new movie. It's just so bad. And you can just tell exactly what they've done to Indiana Jones, and the same thing they've done to Luke Skywalker, and just trying to make him his character and his legend like a joke. And then you ask Harrison Ford, and he's just a sad, like, weak old man. And he's just like, I don't know how they did it, but they somehow did it. So I can't really say much about that. It's kind of goes with this 4th of July and how the United States has been on such a decline. At least it's not what's going on in France. I'm very grateful to live in Hawaii, and I'm grateful to have a community of supporters. Shout out to Aubrey, shout out to Barbara, shout out to Goofy Kitty, and like that. 4th of July being tomorrow, I can tell you one story about the 4th of July. I remember it was Saturday, the 4th of July, 2001, and I was working at a telemarketing job, and I was a top salesman of the telemarketing job. And normally we would work on Saturdays 8 to 12. And since this was the 4th of July, a lot of people did not want to come into work that day. And so as an incentive, the boss had like a few gift raffles. And so every time you made a sale, you would get a raffle ticket. You'd go up, you ring the bell, you go up, you put a tally on the board, and you'd get a raffle ticket. And then they did raffles for like $100 and for $50. And so I'm working next to my friend John Hershey, and I was like the top salesman in the office. And he had just came in like a month or two, but he kind of looked up to me. He was a few years younger than me. I was about like 21 years old, I guess. And my apartment was just a block or two away from the metro office. I talk more about this in my book, Console Education, but I don't talk about this particular day. And so we're selling newspaper subscriptions, and I end up getting more that day than anybody else in the 4 hours, because you can mark on the board how many you have, and so it was obvious that I had sold the most. And I told my friend John Hersey, I'm like, hey, we can make sure that we win the $100 raffle and the $50 raffle if we'll just put our sales together, and you just put my name on each one, since I'm going to have the most tickets. And then if I have your tickets too, I'm basically like guaranteed to win. And the secretary that was pulling the raffle tickets, she was like a nice woman with glasses and had a wife and a young child. And but I was really friendly with her. And at the time I was 20 years old, and there was half the people that worked there were females. And so a lot of the women liked me in the office, but I was like just friendly with this secretary, and would just like take time to talk to her and ask her how her day was and this and that. And so she thought that was nice. And so she was on my side, the person pulling the things. And then I also made a little rip in the middle of, the classic tickets that you get at places like that. And then I'd make a little rip in it. And so when you grab it, it would like catch your hand or whatever. And she knew that I did that as well. So when it when it came time for the raffle, uh they pulled out the $50 one, and then uh I won that, and I was like, yes, but I really wanted the $100 one. And then they pulled out the $100 one, and I was just like, yes. And then I was really laid back at that time. I was just 20 years old, and there was a lot of attention there. Like all the women like really like were head over heels with me. I had so many dates from that office. I should have had way more intercourse than I actually did, but it was a blessing having so many women interested. Well, in those 2 years that I worked there. Lucky's jealous now. I'm the only woman. But so they pulled out the $100 one, then I won that one. Uh and so I got my 72 Chevy, and I only lived a few blocks away, and I was going to pay my friend John Hershey, because we agreed that I'd give him half if I won, but I would have won it anyways, right? And then but I kind of hurry up and go back to my apartment without talking to him, and I signed for the $100 to get my paycheck that day too. And I go back to my apartment, and my apartment was kind of like a party house. I sold weed at the time. And then so like 20 minutes later, John shows up, and he's like, oh, Greg, that was an awesome 4th of July. I wasn't even gonna come into work, but you made it really fun. And we won $150. You can keep the money. Oh, fucking hey. He's like, you can keep the money. And I'm just glad you made it a fun day. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I just wanted, and he's like, I just wanted to buy a half ounce for $35. I was like, oh, it's on the house, dude. And then uh, I'm like, it's on the house, dude. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. So I gave him the free bag of weed, which wasn't very much for me. And then my cat Lucky just knocked over coffee everywhere. But then they gave me I gave him the free thing of weed, and it was a good 4th of July overall. And then we hung out there that night, and like probably took some psychedelics or something. But overall, it was a really good night. And I'll tell more about 4th of July tomorrow. I got to clean up this now, so the podcast is ending a little bit early. But reminder, the Mr. G podcast, it's available, new episodes daily, wherever you listen to podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Audacity Podcast, Spotify Podcasts. You can listen to the Mr. G podcast on your way to work, while you're at work, while you're at home, while you're cleaning your home, while you're on the train, while you're on the bus, while you're in a cab. They ain't going to keep me out of this podcast game, guys. It's something I'm good at. It's something I'm going to be doing. So look for the Mr. G Hawaii podcast. Gregory Brandt. Might take you a little while to search for it. And if you can't find it, full episodes of the Mr. G podcast are uploaded in their entirety onto Twitter and YouTube daily. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Aloha. Lucky, you ruined everything. Just kidding. I love you, Lucky.